It was supposed to be harmless, even profitable. In the 1930s, a few men released some strange South American rodents into the swamps of Louisiana. Just a handful, just a test, and then they left them there. What happened next? Those rodents didn't just survive. They multiplied, they burrowed, they devoured, and then they destroyed. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it was already too late. Wetlands vanished, levees crumbled, farms failed, towns flooded. And across the American South, one of the most bizarre invasions in history was underway. This isn't fiction. It's the true story of the nutria, and how a rodent with orange teeth nearly ate an entire state. In the humid lowlands of Louisiana during the Great Depression, a few entrepreneurs were looking for the next big thing. They found it in fur. Nutria, also known as koipu, are large aquatic rodents from South America. They look like overgrown rats with the face of a beaver, webbed feet like an otter, and teeth the color of traffic cones. To fur farmers, they were a gold mine on legs. Thick pelts, easy to breed, hardy in cold, and best of all, they reproduced like wildfire. One of the biggest backers? Edward Avery McElhenney. Yes, the Tabasco guy. He imported nutria from Argentina, built pens on Avery Island, and started breeding them for profit. But in 1940, something happened. McElhenney opened the cages. Some say it was a storm, others say fur prices crashed and he just gave up. Either way, the nutria were released. First a few, then all of them. And that decision would haunt Louisiana for the next 80 years. McElhenney wasn't the only one. Throughout the 1940s, more fur farmers abandoned their pens. Hurricanes damaged cages. Others simply let them go to cut costs. No big deal, they thought. They're just rodents. But in Louisiana's lush, untamed wetlands, the nutria didn't just escape. They thrived. There were no predators, no jaguars, no caimans, no anacondas like back home. The swamps were paradise. Endless food, shallow water, miles of bayous and canals acting like highways for expansion. A single nutria pair can produce over 200 offspring a year. Multiply that, then multiply it again. And by the early 1950s, Louisiana's nutria population had exploded into the millions. Locals started noticing. Strange trails in the reeds, vanished vegetation, collapsing canal banks. The state wasn't infested, it was occupied. And then it spread. Nutria didn't stop at Louisiana. They swam across the Mississippi. They tunneled into Texas. They crept up into Maryland, chewed through California's delta systems, even reached Oregon and Washington. Some states even helped them, thinking they could be used to control invasive plants. Spoiler, they couldn't. Instead of solving a problem, nutria became the problem. And by the 1970s, the U.S. was facing a full-blown ecological crisis, caused entirely by itself. To most people, wetlands are just muddy, empty land. But in reality, they're some of the most important ecosystems on Earth. They filter water, store carbon, provide nurseries for fish and birds, act as natural storm buffers, and in the U.S., 40% of all wetlands are in Louisiana. Nutria didn't just eat the plants, they tore them out by the roots. They carved tunnels, they shredded marsh grasses and saplings, and that changed everything. With no roots holding soil, the land began to collapse. What was once a vibrant swamp turned into open water. Fish disappeared, birds lost their nests, frogs, insects, turtles, gone. Even worse, nutria damage accelerated coastal erosion. Louisiana was already losing a football field of land every hour due to sea level rise and sinking sediment. Nutria made it worse, much worse. But it wasn't just about the environment. Nutria began attacking infrastructure. They dug through canal walls and irrigation systems, collapsed levees, undermined dams. And in hurricane zones, that's not just a nuisance. It's deadly. In the storms that followed, floodwaters tore through areas weakened by nutria burrows. Roads washed out, bridges collapsed, fields turned into lakes. Farmers were devastated. Nutria chewed through sugarcane, rice, corn, even the wood siding of sheds. By 2015, Nutria had caused measurable damage to over 50,000 acres of farmland in Louisiana alone. And that was just the beginning. Local economies started to buckle. Insurance rates climbed, repair costs skyrocketed, some farms went under, and still, the rodents chewed. As if ecosystem collapse and economic ruin weren't enough, Nutria brought something else with them: disease. These swamp-dwelling rodents carried a suite of zoonotic illnesses, diseases that spread from animals to humans. The most dangerous? Leptospirosis, a bacterial infection that can cause kidney failure, liver damage, or death. Others included tuberculosis, septicemia, and parasites like liver flukes and nematodes. And it didn't stay in the swamp. Infected water crept into creeks, ponds, even shallow wells. Some rural communities had to abandon water sources. In one report, parasite-laced water backed up into bathtubs during floods. It was no longer about saving the land. It was about protecting the people living on it. By the early 2000s, officials had seen enough. Louisiana launched the Coastwide Nutria Control Program, one of the boldest wildlife campaigns in U.S. history.
The strategy? Pay people to kill them. Starting in 2002, trappers were given $4 per tail. That bounty was later raised to $6. In the first year alone, more than 308,000 nutria were removed. And in Maryland, a 15-year eradication program successfully wiped nutria out of the eastern shore by 2022. Even California, stunned by a nutria resurgence in 2017, threw $12 million at the problem. They tried everything. Traverse setbacks, of course. Some poisons killed native wildlife. Others feared the backlash from animal rights groups. And then came the strangest idea yet. Eat them to beat them. Nutria tacos. Nutria jerky. Nutria gumbo. Restaurants experimented. Wildlife officials encouraged. Some even tried to revive the fur market with eco-friendly slogans. Look fabulous while saving the wetlands. But beneath the recipes and slogans, a painful truth remains. We introduced nutria for profit. We ignored the warnings. And when things spiraled out of control, we paid the price in land, money, and lives. This wasn't just an animal story. It was a warning. Because when we tamper with nature, thinking we know better, nature doesn't just push back. It reclaims everything. So, what do you think? Was this disaster avoidable? Should invasive species like nutria be hunted to extinction in non-native lands? Or is there still a way to live with the damage we caused? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this story eye-opening, give it a like, share it with someone who loves environmental stories, and don't forget to subscribe for more weird history, dark lessons, and unforgettable true tales. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.